Time for thinking real estate. So put your thinking caps on. Think real estate.
Think real estate.
Well, I always thought it was thank real estate. This is thinking real estate?
This is
Oh,
think.
so thanking real estate.
Did somebody ever tell you were funny? Because they were lying.
Think real estate.
Lion Ted Cruz.
Huh?
No politics. That's what Donald Trump's
No,
term.
no.
Lion. You said it was lion. Right?
Oh.
All right. Lion Ted.
No
Anyway.
politics?
No politics.
Tonight's
no
the
politics.
debate.
No, no politics.
You gonna watch it?
If I can stay awake.
Oh yeah, that's right, because you're in here early. What time do you get in here?
Long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't even want
Half a day ago?
Okay. So, thinking real estate. Been a long time since I've been on this
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
Lots happened.
Welcome back.
Thanks a lot. I'm Bill Schlechte, by the way. You are?
I-
Greg O'Connor?
I'm just sitting here.
All right.
Jackie's behind the camera.
And I'll give a shout out to Chris Rowley and Pete Brown. We played the Emerald yesterday, which is really nice golf course north of St. John's. And Rowley at SOB shot 72, even par.
Hey, this is a family show here.
Oh,
Oh, he just
yeah.
did initials.
I know it.
An acronym for son of Betty. SOB, son of Betty. His mother's name is Betty. That's what didn't you catch on?
Yeah, I caught
Anyway,
it.
he shot 72, even par.
Wow.
I shot 80, double bogeying number 18, and Pete, he shot 40 on the back. We won't tell you what he shot on the front side. Nice golf course, though. We'd never played it before. We got coupons through Group Golfer for $25, something like that. A really nice golf course. So,
It's right off the highway, though.
You can see it right on
Yeah.
27. Yeah, but a very, very nice golf course. I was.
I've driven by
That's
that
like
many
this.
times.
So had I, and when it showed
You
up
actually get out of town?
Yeah.
when it showed up on Group Golfer, which is a website where they do discount
Yeah.
golf, saw it and said, guys, let's pick up the coupon, and we went out and played. A beautiful day, nice golf course, so had a good time. So, all right, what do you want to talk about on real estate? There is something that has happened since I was last here.
Really?
What?
I would hope so, since the last time you were here was what?
Months ago.
May?
Last May or June.
Memorial Day-ish?
Was it May?
Yeah.
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 So,
So I would hope something's happened in the
I
world.
got a couple
Other
things.
than politics.
yeah. I think there are things that have been happening.
So do share.
Well, I won a clogging of the equity of redemption case.
I thought you were
In
going to
case
say
it
you
went
won a
down.
clogging contest.
No, there's a term of art in law called clogging the equity of redemption, where a mortgagee, this happened to be a bank in northern Michigan, at least it was decided against my client by the Marquette Circuit Judge way back 2 years ago. We went to the Court of Appeals, and the Court of Appeals reversed the Circuit Court, and now is giving us the opportunity to show that, in fact, the bank interfered with the rights of redemption of the borrower. So that case is now going to go on. And I'm waiting, tomorrow is D-Day, on whether or not another case, the defendant is going to appeal the Court of Appeals decision against them to the Supreme Court. So we'll see. But those are of interest to me and probably of interest to nobody else other than the redemption case. But also, the Department of Housing and Urban Development issued a guidance in July regarding leasing of properties and what landlords can and can't do in terms of screening tenants. Is that something that interests you and you want to talk about?
Oh, just hearing your voice interests me.
You know, what is it? The degree of sarcasm is determined only by
Palatable.
the level of stupidity of the recipient, something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. Do I detect a note of sarcasm,
No, go
darling?
for it. I have I'm on the tail end of a cold, so I'm going to put a cough drop in my throat, my mouth. To
Yeah,
soothe,
don't put it in your throat.
to soothe my throat. So.
Yeah, no, it's typical. A landlord has a standard question on the application. It says, have you ever been convicted of a crime? And HUD came back and has said...
I think ours says felony.
It doesn't say felony?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, a lot of applications say, have you ever been convicted of a crime? Some of them even have you ever been arrested for a crime? Not necessarily.
So
convicted.
can I discriminate based on felony versus crime?
Now, here's what HUD says. HUD says that you can ask the question whether or not someone has been convicted of a crime, arrest are not relevant as far as HUD is concerned. So it's a conviction. You can ask if there's a conviction. If the applicant says yes, you can inquire into what that conviction is for, but then you must exercise reasonable discretion in determining whether or not that crime is disqualifying of the applicant as a prospective tenant. So let me take the most extreme example. Let's suppose they come back and say, yes, I was convicted of a crime. What is it? MIP. You know what MIP is?
Minor in possession.
Minor in possession. That would not be disqualifying. In other words, a landlord could not discriminate on that basis.
Do they have a list of crimes that you can't
They
discriminate
do
against?
not. The HUD has not issued a list of crimes, and it's up to the landlord to determine whether or not it is.
So how can you say that I can't discriminate against an MIP?
Well, here's the way it works. And I've talked about this before in terms of discriminatory action on the part of a landlord, and the classifications for in other words, you cannot discriminate against people because of their race, their color, their religion, their national origin, sex, marital status, familial status, and age. Those are the categories. Now, when you ask somebody, have you been convicted of a crime, that doesn't per se fit within any of those categories. However, what HUD has said, and this is true, and I'm in agreement with HUD on this, and the U.S. Supreme Court had previously said, and HUD tacks onto that, is that even though an action, conduct, something that you do as a landlord in this case, even though on its face is not discriminatory because you're discriminating on the basis that somebody has a criminal record, it can have an adverse, disparate, or unequal impact on people within those classifications, particularly African American and Latinos. This is exactly from the HUD guidance. And so even though on its face discriminating on the basis of a criminal conviction is not discriminatory, it has a greater impact on certain individuals within those protected classifications. Therefore, HUD says, you can ask whether or not somebody's been convicted of a crime, but now you have to exercise reasonable judgment in determining whether that crime is a sufficient reason to not rent to the person. For example, we're landlords. We ask whether or not they've been convicted. We actually went through this with somebody recently where we accepted an applicant who it turns out had been convicted of a felony and had spent time in jail. This is in northern Michigan, if you remember this, about 3 months ago.
Oh, right.
And we checked the references, talked to the people, and he was on the road to rehabilitating himself. We were convinced of that. We accepted him as an applicant. Turns out he didn't rent the property from us, but we accepted him as an applicant based upon our investigation and determination that despite the fact that, as I recall, it was a violent act, assault and battery, something like that. But despite
I don't remember.
fact,
I think it was like 10 years ago, though.
it was long, yeah. I mean, again, you look at how long ago was the offense, the conviction, what was it for? MIPs, DWI, unless it's felony DWI, which I think is third offense. You know, there would be convictions that, from a landlord's perspective, really wouldn't impact the quality of that particular tenant.
Right. Especially if it were 10 years ago.
Yeah, but then again, you're looking at something that's farther distant in time. And so I guess my point is, yeah, a violent crime, I'd immediately, that would be disqualifying unless I was convinced that the tenant, it was a long time ago, the tenant was on the path to rehabilitation, there had been no subsequent offenses, things like that. A crime of moral turpitude, I usually think of embezzlement, theft, fraud, things like that. For me, that would be disqualifying as well. Crimes of sexual predator nature, you know, ones where the individual has to register as a sex offender. Again, you start off with a presumption that it would be disqualifying, but you could think of certain instances where someone was a teenager and you know, it was a stupid mistake that they made years ago, something like that. So you
Yeah, but
look
there's
at
there's no black and white.
no, none.
So it's up to your discretion.
Yeah, but again, what HUD says, and the guidance is 4 or 5 pages long, is that you have to exercise, quote, reasonable judgment, I think is the term that's used in the guidance, to not, so that you cannot automatically disqualify that person as an applicant. It's sort of similar to the guidance that was issued, I want to say in 2012, regarding credit worthiness of an applicant. where if you have a husband who applies, a married person who applies for an apartment, you cannot automatically say, well, once you find out they're married, and you can ask the marital status, but if they're married, you cannot automatically insist on the spouse's signature, because now you're discriminating on the basis of marital status. If that husband qualifies as a tenant under your objective criteria, you cannot insist that the spouse sign on the lease as well.
And if they're not married,
If they're
Not married, again, if they meet
if your
your,
criteria is that all adults 18 and older are signed on the lease, you can't make them sign?
no, but you're talking about occupants. You're saying all occupants
Okay.
who are 18 or older have
Right.
to sign. That's different from the creditworthiness of the
Okay.
tenant. Okay. Now I'm talking about, it could be an example where a husband and wife are separating, and the husband or the wife applies for an apartment somewhere.
Right.
You cannot automatically, because that person is married, insist upon the spouse's signature. If that person qualifies on their own, with their own assets, their own income, etc., you cannot insist upon the spouse's signature. If they don't qualify, you still can't insist upon the spouse's signature, but you can insist upon a co-signatory or a guarantor with sufficient assets or income, etc., to meet your objective criteria. In most circumstances, I assume it's going to be the spouse because you hold the assets jointly, but it doesn't have to be. My point here is that you cannot automatically insist upon the spouse's signature simply because the person is married. We talked about that at probably I remember a specific conversation. I think it was April 14, 2013.
Well, the beauty of all of this is we're on YouTube. We could go back and check.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
We can
like
fact check you.
fact checking Politico. Right?
I don't know that. We can do it immediately, like they're going to do tonight.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, but I simply give that as an example. It's different from the one where you can't reject based solely on a conviction, because there it's disparate impact on certain minorities. The one with respect to credit is blatantly discriminatory on the basis of marital status. I'm getting a little bit too legalistic here. I don't mean to
Really?
do that. I'm sorry.
Has there been a time he hasn't?
Yeah.
he's pretty legal.
Well, how do I satisfactorily explain the? I thought, never mind. Okay.
So what on our screening of tenants? What is the criminal background going to be?
You have to ask. Ask.
No, I
and
meant
find out.
what are our standards going to be? Do you know?
No, because you don't know.
You gotta go case by case. don't
That's
you?
exactly right. On an
You
ad
can't
hoc, case by
say-
case basis. No, because
You
it
can't say automatically no to sexual offenders and automatically no
Second
to...
degree murder,
Yeah.
does that?
well, it depends upon whether it was reasonably justified or not.
Well- Yeah.
Spouse or not. I'm just saying. No,
Can you ask if they have a concealed weapon?
Yeah, probably. I don't know why that would be discriminatory.
Would you want to know, as a landlord, would I want to know if they had weapons in the house?
Yeah, probably. But how are you going to stop that one? I mean,
I'm not saying that you stop it, but knowledge, just, general knowledge, I guess.
Do you own an AK-47 or
I-
an AR-15?
I don't think that's legal.
What's that?
What,
don't-
knowing if they have a weapon or not?
I don't think they would have to answer that.
Why not? If
Guns are in a protected class, are they?
They're not. That's not a protected classification of individuals. Gun toters. I mean, I think I could clearly ask that. I mean,
Can you ask the hours that they work? And the only reason I'm asking this, because over the last 2 weeks we've had, I think three or four little people rustling through cars.
little people.
Well,
Little people.
little episodes of people getting into tenant cars and
At night
disturbances. Yeah. Nothing major, but little disturbances. So I, as a landlord, think, well, I kind of want to know when my tenants are not home because they're at work, right? So that I know that it's.
Yeah, but now you're getting into an invasion of privacy issue. That's a whole different issue. I mean,
I would say that about if you were a carrier of a weapon. A
no,
gun.
but as an applicant, I mean, let's suppose that it's like cigarette smoke. Okay?
Yeah,
I
right.
can discriminate against people who smoke cigarettes. I mean, that's not a protected class of individuals, and we prohibit smoking of cigarettes. We prohibit smoking of marijuana in our apartments, even though someone who has a medical marijuana card is a person who's protected under the classification of disability. I forgot to list that one earlier. But there are other ways to get your medical marijuana than smoking. You can get it by ingesting it, whether it's brownies or some other method. So my point here is, no, if I'm a strong proponent of gun control, I don't see why a landlord couldn't ask that question and say, no, since you.
Well, you could ask it, would they have to?
Well, they could lie, I guess, and then when you find out that they shot somebody who came to the door, you'd say, okay, you lied on your application, and
You're out.
yeah, right, yeah, you're in jail, but you're out anyway. So, although that's not true. I mean, you're entitled to shoot somebody if they invade it's called a castle defense. You retreat to your castle, your home, and if somebody invades your home, you're entitled to shoot them. Just don't. Who knew?
Just shoot them.
Yeah, right.
I'm just gonna use a knife.
That's a little bit more dangerous, I would say. But anyway, so, but
And we don't allow incense burning in multi-unit, like
incense burning.
incense burning,
Really?
because it
It
goes through the whole building.
It also
Plus, it leaves
creates
a film.
a smoky film on the
Film.
ceiling.
Yeah, we
of
don't
the
like
walls.
we don't want smoke in our properties. Great.
No. But yeah, I mean,
How about
I mean, look,
Well,
I'm
there's candles don't create a smoke.
Yes, they do.
They can, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't burn candles.
Okay. Well,
So
candles smoke.
well when you blow them out, but
no, even when they're not. But
really
Yeah, they can.
I mean, let's jump back.
You
to
might
this.
want to grab some candles and
apparently.
check that
See
out.
what
There's
happens.
certain
But I mean, you jump back to the weapons. I mean, I'm not sure, unless I was like a really strong opponent of guns and proponent of gun control. But I mean, I'm a hunter, and I mean, how many? I'm trying. I saw this statistic the other day of how many weapons there are in the United States. I mean,
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, if you discriminate against somebody simply because they have a weapon, I think you're going to be limiting your tenant pool to a relatively tiny.
Well, I wasn't suggesting
fraction.
discriminating against them. I was more just for
To know who to mobilize in the event of Armageddon, and
Well,
you
no,
get
I
militia
just
behind
just I don't know. If you had to go on the property for an emergency or something, and you didn't know they were in there, and they thought you were a burglar or something.
Well, I would assume, I would always make the assumption that somebody has a weapon. You'd never ever go in without advance warning and a
Right.
protective vest on, some Kevlar or something like that.
Good idea.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just sending you.
Riot gear.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna send you. Boy, time has flown.
It speeds by.
It's nice to see you, by the way.
Yeah,
Nice to
you
be
too,
back.
Bill.
Go
All
for it.
right. So we.
Are you selling any houses?
Well, I'm trying to.
Okay.
Okay. I have a couple. We have a couple of units for rent. A really cute 2-bedroom on the corner of 3rd and West Washington, 3rd floor unit, and then a 4-bedroom house. Claire Allen Historic Home. Cool house. Very cool. And that's on Southwest Avenue. So we have those, and then Mill Street, 387 South Mill is $249.9, 3-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,972 square feet, pool walkout basement on the Raisin River. And that's a great floor plan, perfect for parties and just gatherings of family or whatever. Bedrooms are on one side of the house and the entertaining is on the other. So. And then 6581 Lori Drive, 169.9, 4 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, 2,172 square feet, sitting right there in a nice subdivision in Western School District. All set and ready to move in. So give me a call at 780-3800 or email me at laura@7803800.com or text me. Or go to the website, text at 879-1672. That's my cell phone, 879-1672. what else can you do? Go to the website, thinkingrealestate.com.
That's it?
Facebook,
And,
Twitter.
Lynn, are we gonna
whatever.
do a buyer's seminar at some point this fall? We should do a buyer's seminar, so that free seminar for them, and then a landlord seminar. Are we doing one of those again?
Well, we were going to do landlord conference, but that has not seemed to come together for some reason.
All right, so anyway, so both of
So-
those are somewhere on the agenda in
The drawing
distant
board.
future. Yeah, yeah, because I mean, the market's been hot. Market's been going gangbusters, and I
Not
mean,
a lot on the market. Perfect time. Perfect day to go look at houses, because if there's going to be a wet basement, you might see it, although it's not a downpour. And then if you got a house to sell, we need listings.
And I'm also dealing with constantly in the classes that I'm teaching these issues of buyers, due diligence, what they're finding, what they're not finding, and all that sort of stuff. So.
Call.
780-3800.
I'm Coach Tom Izzo.